Hello, welcome back to another video on astrology. In this video, we are back in conversation with Dr. YVSR. As you all know that we have completed series 1 and 2, and this is the third series, a fresh one, a new one we are starting today. And the series name is Nuances in Astrology. So when something is, in every subject, there are some subtle things that you need to know. And though they're very subtle, it is also the most important. That's the actual meaning of nuances in astrology. That's what we're going to cover. And who else can do it better than Dr. YVSR? He's going to talk about the two systems in astrology, which is always, a hot topic in astrology. Which one is correct? Is it the tropical or the sidereal? So we now invite Dr. YVSR to this conversation, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. So the floor is yours, please, sir.
With just an introduction of the new series. This is Nuances in Astrology. Exactly means some simple tricks and simple tips also in the matter of prediction as well as casting of the horoscopes. In fact, every person is required to have a hobby in one's life that would help him to get back to his original profession or trade, more relaxed and refreshed. And of all the hobbies I know of, astrology is the best hobby for the simple reason it harms none and helps all. A man with astrological knowledge grows spiritually taller, and his outlook towards life will be totally different. It's more philosophical. So he will ordain his life, and the type of actions that he would be doing in his life will be naturally with the background of astrology and the effects of it in life. So if one wants to actually see that he is not troubled again and again in his births, one after the other, he would like to see that he does something good always and helps people, not simply for himself, but for the society at large. So astrology is the most innocent hobby. It should be practiced. After the retirement, that is after Satabhishna Shashtyabdi Purti, one can use it as a serious study. So that, because that is the time when one can also devote his life completely on the spiritual side. So in this Nuances in Astrology, there are two methods. The whole world is divided, the East and West. The West following the tropical zodiac and the East following the sidereal zodiac with the fixed stars. I'm not disputing about which one is correct or which one is wrong, but I'm only putting it, the literature that is available, and also the two systems, and the difficulty in enunciating which one is correct. Therefore, it depends on one's own experiences and practices. One need not shift from his present practice of system to another. Here in this tropical zodiac, it is we know that astronomy is well advanced in Western world, and we are lagging behind in astronomy. And on the astrology side, Western system practically is blind on the predictive side, whereas the East represented by India is very rich on the predictive side. So we have got to give and take perhaps, but whatever it be, the Western astrology that is very much advanced, astronomy that is very much advanced, is nothing but the ancient Indian astronomy, which we have been kept away from the real astronomy for the simple reason of consequent invasions and communication gap, invasions by the Mohammedans throughout our Indian history, and then the communication gap. So starting from Mrigasira, when Mrigasira was actually the vernal equinox, Rigveda was written, and slowly it moved to from Mrigasira to forget about Rohini and come to Kritika, the end of it. It is Mahabharatwa. And from Kritika, the beginning of Kritika, from the end of Kritika to the beginning of Kritika, we find it is Vedanga Jyotisha period when Jyotisha has come into being, very much practiced with the Yajna and other things started there. Therefore, Agni or the fire is actually the fire god that is required in this holy fire, in this practicing Yajna. Therefore, Ravi was actually considered to be signifying, Kritika was the actual star when this Yajna started, and therefore Kritika signifies Ravi. So Kritika Nakshatra actually refers to a Ravi Dasha. And slowly, we don't have any reference in history or chronology about Bharani. So that is the communication gap. It was only in 520 AD when Varamira came into light. He shed some light on the zodiac. It was in 5, he said that it is Ashwini was in the first quarter of Ashwini Nakshatra. Vernal equinox was actually in the first quarter of the Ashwini Nakshatra. Again, we have got a break. We don't know anything about chronology in Revati. And today we are in the last quarter of Uttar Bhadrapada as far as the chronology is concerned. Therefore, there is so much of communication gap between us and our ancients regarding this subject. So we shall see how best we can understand it, and there are some nuances in it, and I shall move to the PowerPoint presentation. Here it is, Nuances in Astrology, Part 1, Series 3. We have completed 2 series and been quite a soundful feedback, and we have ventured to go in for Nuances in Astrology as the 3rd series. This Part 1 contains details of this. These are the subheadings. Planets at the beginning of Svetavara Kalpa, celestial sphere, 4 cardinal points of astronomy, including vernal equinoctial point. Why does the zodiac begin? The 2 zodiacs, tropical and sidereal zodiac, a rationale of pictorial symbols of 27 constellations and 12 signs of the zodiac. So the whole edifice of astrology rests on assumption that all the planets were in celestial conjunction Aries 0 degrees, except Rahu 0 degrees in the sign Libra at the beginning of Svetavara Kalpa. This we have already seen in the previous series. So all this, on this assumption, the 5 astronomical siddhantas called the Pancha Siddhantika has come into being. The 5 siddhantas are the Romaka, Paulisa, Pitamaha, Saura and Vasishta. These are all the siddhantas pertaining to the Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, so on and so forth. So Varamira has actually reviewed these 5 siddhantas and came to the conclusion that all these 5, none of these siddhantas were correct, either in the magnitude, in the form of a nakshatra or the tithi, that is lunation. Saura siddhanta seem to be somewhat nearer to the accuracy regarding the lunation, because this lunation does not speak about where the zodiac starts, because it is actually the difference between the longitude of the sun and the moon divided by 12 gives you the actual lunation. Therefore, where does the zodiac begin is not the criterion for Tithi. It is the position of the sun and the moon and the difference in the longitudes. Therefore, to some extent, it seems our Siddhanta, as he puts it, is somewhat nearer to the accuracy. The salient facts about the zodiac, it moves always retrograde. Parts company of a static nakshatras at 960 years of each nakshatra extent of 13 and 1/3 degrees. The precession of equinoxes for 360 degrees is 25,920 years. That is 27 into 960. The whole of edifice of astrology rests on 2 vital considerations. One is the static chart. That is the chart we actually cast on the time of birth. That is astronomically correct horoscope for astrological divination. The very first glance at this chart for the time of birth should give you some what is in store for the individual, for the native. So that is called the static chart. It remains as it is, it will never change. And the dynamic progression is the scientific progression, that is the astrological correct planet periods for timing of events precisely. So we calculate the balance of dasha at the time of birth and go on adding subsequent dashas in the sequence of Vimsottara dasha system according to the span of life or longevity of a native. The number of dashas that he would be passing through in his life period will be determined. So the precession of equinoxes is actually coming in to show off the difference between the two zodiacs. The globe or the earth rotates something like a top, which the children used to play for amusement. So it makes a circle at the top as it spins. It not only rotates, but also revolves around a circle at the top. So this is put in more elegantly with the earth here. So the earth's axis is here. It is inclined at 23.5 degrees. So the present day earth's pole is exactly pointing towards the pole star. On this circle, we find Vega diametrical opposite to the pole, Polaris. So for nearly 25 or 920 years, that is about 13,000 years, we will have pole star, Polaris as the pole star. And for another 13,000 years, when it rotates, it comes to Vega. So these two stars pointing towards the north for 13,000 years each time can be seen because of the wobbling of the earth. This wobbling of the earth will not be noticed by us because it is just a few seconds of arc. That is about 50 seconds of arc per year. That means 1 degree for 72 years and 960 years for one nakshatra extent and 920 years for the 360 degree. So it will not be visible. It cannot be sensed. The movement is so negligible. This is how it goes. So this is the circle of precession of equinoxes. This is how the earth actually moves over a period of 920 years, making a circle at the top. That is the precession of the equinoxes circle. So the precession of equinoxes is 50 seconds per angle per year. And the equinox is 60 minutes or 1 degree angle for 72 years. And precession of full 360 degrees or 27 constellations is 920 years. And now we shall see the celestial sphere. So when we are standing on the observer is standing on this globe, on the surface of it, he finds that the entire celestial sphere is an inverted dome. So he sees all the stars and planets and other things above, irrespective of their actual distances. That's why they are represented in angular terms. So this is the celestial sphere. And this is the celestial equator that divides this into two, making the top one as the northern hemisphere and the bottom one as the southern hemisphere. We have the earth in the center, and this is the east and west here shown. The next one, this is the axis that is passing through the axis of the earth towards the Polaris. That is the north celestial pole. And here we see the precession of equinoxes. We find that the whole thing is appearing to be moving from east to west. The precession of equinoxes, the zodiacal part of it, the south portion of it, they all appear to be moving from west to east. But actually the earth is moving from west to east. I have shown this with the arrow here. Earth is actually rotating from west to east. So the movement of the sun with respect to the earth defines the tropical zodiac. So it has a starting reference point. So always Aries commences when the sun crosses the March equinox and moves north of the equator. So the vernal equinox, we find in this the seasons and equinoxes, we have got 4 cardinal points. The one is the autumnal equinox, the vernal equinox in March, when the sun is here on March 21st. And autumnal equinox opposite to it, 180 degrees opposite to it, that is the vernal, that is called the September equinox or the autumnal equinox or the Libra. And on either side of it, in between, we have summer solstice, Cancer, and here winter solstice, that is Capricorn. These 4 points are fixed and they always recur exactly on the same days. Then at these 2 points, we find the days and nights are equal, whereas at this point, the days are longer, days are longer, and in winter, that is December or so, we find the nights are longer. So the vernal equinox or the tropical zodiac, Aries, begins always from the vernal equinox. So vernal equinox is the starting point of the Aries of tropical zodiac. We find here, this is the celestial equator, this is the zodiac ecliptic, the center line, and these 2 things intersect at this point. This point is called Aries, and this is called Libra, and this is Cancer, this is Capricorn. These are the 4 cardinal points fixed and occur on the same days every year, and this vernal equinox is actually the starting point of the zodiac for tropical zodiac. The 2 zodiacs, sidereal and tropical, they are also known as fixed and mobile or Nirayana and Sayana. The tropical zodiac. There are many number of references in Vedic literature that tropical zodiac has been followed in Srimad Bhagavatam of 3rd century and in Dhruvanadi. And Saptarshi astrology adopts tropical zodiac. Surya Siddhanta of Aryabhatta, 4th century, speaks of tropical zodiac. Brihasamhita Varahamihira, 5th century, speaks of the same tropical zodiac. Tetrabiblos of Kepler of 6th century also speaks about tropical zodiac. The 2 zodiacs, sidereal and tropical, coincide in 285 AD. That is the vernal equinox when the sun was in March 21st, and the Ashwini 0 degrees coincided in 285 AD. So this will give the reference point for calculating the Ayanamsha. There are a number of Ayanamshas, and there are as many astrologers are there, so many Ayanamshas exist. Which Ayanamsha is correct means 285 AD, the Ayanamsha is 0. From there one can calculate to 2020, this September month, and can arrive at the actual correct magnitude of Ayanamsha. So one need not blindly copy B.V. Ramans or Pillais or Laharis or anybody. And you can also observe that the difference in these various Ayanamshas that exist in the world will be the maximum and the minimum. The difference will be not more than 1 quarter or 1 para, 3 and 1/3 degrees. The reason for that will be known shortly in the subsequent slides. So precession of equinoxes and tropical zodiac were mentioned in Indian classical literature, particularly of Rigveda 5,000 years ago. The precession of the equinoxes was discovered by Hipparchus around 130 BCO, at least 400 years later. So it was only Varahamihira in 520 AD who had introduced all of us to astrology and some of the latent facts. He explored the astronomical and astrological world with his observations at that time. In the literature of his time, that is Vedanga Jyotisha, he found that Dakshinayana took place in the middle of Aslesha Nakshatra. Vedanga Jyotisha period was 1500 years before his existence. And today we are 1500 years after him. So we are midway between the Vedanga Jyotisha and the present day. Varamira was midway. So 1500 years before, Varamira found in the literature that Vedanga Jyotisha period, the Dakshinayana occurred in the middle of Aslesha. And in his own time, he observed that Dakshinayana occurred in Punarvasu last quarter. Therefore, Dakshinayana shifted from middle of Aslesha to the last quarter of Punarvasu, that is about 7 quarters. 7 quarters means 1 3/4 asterisms. So 1 3/4 asterisms into 960 years precession of equinoxes, we find it has moved there. So to this, in the middle of Aslesha, Dakshinayana occurred in Vedanga Jyotisha period. At right angles to it is the vernal equinox. Similarly, in his own time, he observed that Dakshinayana occurred in Punarvasu last quarter and Uttarayana in middle of Uttarashada, and therefore, at right angles to it, it was in the Ashwini first quarter. So vernal equinox was in the first quarter. Because he mentioned that Dakshinayana occurred in Punarvasu last quarter and Uttarayana in middle of Uttarashada, and the vernal equinox happened to be in the first quarter of. At that time, he mentioned only the nakshatras in terms of quarters, but not in degrees. And therefore, the first quarter of any nakshatra has a magnitude of 3 1/3 degrees. Therefore, it could be of anybody's imagination as to where that particular point was in his time. Therefore, so many differences of equinoxes that exist today. But Bhaskaracharya of the 11th century Bhaskaracharya of 11th century had corrected it that the 2 zodiacs were coincident in 285 AD. That means the Ainamsa was 0 at that time. So the charts that were cast at that time were both sidereal as well as tropical, or they are both Nirayana and Sayana in 285 AD. Slowly the difference came to be seen as we drifted farther and farther away from 285 AD. So we see that the rationale of 12 zodiacal sign symbols and 27 constellation symbols. This is the Sidereal Zodiac. We find the nakshatras here. So the Sidereal Zodiac, Mesha Rashi or the Aries begins always with Ashwini, and therefore Ashwini starts the Sidereal Zodiac. And the symbols are from Mesham to Meenam. We find the symbols there, the ram, the bull, the couple, the crab, the lion, and so on and so forth. And we find also that the nakshatras give rise to, each nakshatra gives rise to particular dasha. And they give rise to 3 sets of dashas of Himsosra dasha system for every 120 years, thrice over in the zodiac. So this is about the Sidereal Zodiac. We find the moon is moving, and as he moves from the Ashwini to Magha, he traces 9 dashas. After starting from Magha, he moves to Mola. So this is the second set, gives rise again to 9 dashas. From Mola to again, he comes back to Ashwini. He gives rise to 9 dashas. So these dashas are actually related to the stars, and therefore they are called nakshatra dashas. And these nakshatra dashas are actually fixed. So wherever the moon is, there is a trick. Wherever the moon is, we look for the Janma nakshatra. The Janma Nakshatra is one where the moon actually faces that. Where the moon is placed, that nakshatra area is called the Janma Nakshatra. And from the Janma Nakshatra, we define the Dasha. But why this circumventing? We can straight away, nowadays, we are not actually going in for padas. The Dasha is not actually represented in terms of padas for us. Because pada is for a Sukra Dasha of say Ravi, given Sukra Dasha of 20 years cannot be equated to 4 dashas on 4 quarters only, because each quarter is 5 years. We want bhuktis, antaras, sushmas, pranas and so on. So. Therefore, we need degrees. We don't need padas of nakshatras. So instead of knowing where the moon is and then tracing the nakshatra and calculating the dasha, we can straight away jump from the position of the moon straight to the dasha. Here we find the inner one is the tropical zodiac, the outer one is the sidereal zodiac. This is the sidereal zodiac starting Aries, starting from Ashwini. And here is the tropical zodiac where the Aries is starting from the vernal equinox. Here now today as it stands, we find that these two are actually overlapping, intersecting. So the difference between the beginning of this tropical zodiac and the beginning of the sidereal zodiac is 2407 degrees, that is the Ainamsa. Today, the exact Ainamsa is 24 degrees 07 minutes. So this is the sidereal zodiac Aries that is beginning from the first quarter of Ashwini. First quarter of Ashwini deciphers the 30 degrees zodiac, which encompasses the 4 quarters of Ashwini, the 4 quarters of Bharani, and then again 1 quarter of Kritika constitute Ashwini, this Mesha Rasi in sidereal zodiac. This is 30 degrees. Here we find in red line, we find the Mesha Rasi starts somewhere is in Uttara Bhadrapada. Starting point is in Uttara Bhadrapada today in the 4th quarter. That is starts coming in the retrograde direction. You find Revati is gone, is past, and again 3 quarters of that Uttara Bhadrapada are over. It is in the 4th quarter. It is therefore between this red line and the, you can see the yellow line, and also the beginning of this sidereal zodiac Aries yellow line, and the beginning of the tropical zodiac the red line, we find the difference is 24.7, 24 degrees 7 minutes. This is the Ainamsa. Now, both have got the same signification, same signs of the zodiac, starting from Aries to Pisces, Mesham to Meenam, with the pictorial diagrams of a ram, bull, couple, crab, lion, and so on. Both of these are common for both these systems. The sidereal zodiac adopts the same symbols. Similarly, the Western zodiac with a different starting point also adopts the same thing. It is very funny that both of them look the same pictures in their horoscope, in their charts. Here we find these are the symbols of the zodiac, whether it is sidereal zodiac or tropical zodiac. These are the symbols of the zodiac, and these are the symbols of these 27 stars, which they signify. The starting point of sidereal zodiac is always Ashwini, and the starting point of the tropical zodiac is always vernal equinox, and they are separated by 24 degrees. That means Sidereal Zodiac will have its Ashwin in its Mesha Rashi as a constituent of 4 quarters of Ashwini, 4 quarters of Bharani, and 1 quarter of Kritika. Whereas that of tropical zodiac, it is totally different. But how is it that tropical zodiac Aries also holds the same significance, same symbol, Aries, Ram for them, and Ram for Sidereal Zodiac Mesha Rashi? That means both of them are lying or both of them are true. In fact, these symbols of the zodiac are not visible in the sky. They are only symbolical, and the places where they are normally found are actually the points for prediction. For instance, a lion is taken. Lion is always in the forests in the big mountains. So that is the place where you can say in the prediction for the native that if his profession were to be that particular Leo, you can say that he would be living as a forest officer. Or if one is having 10th house moon, then during the period of moon, he may find himself near the sea coast. So it is the symbolical of that, but they are not seen in the sky, either by sidereal astrologers or for the tropical astrology. So these are only symbolical and are not seen in the sky. Whereas the nakshatras are visible. They are constellations, and when these constellations, the group of stars are combined, they result in these pictures. They are visible and they can be seen on any day. So the stars are real and the pictures are real in the sky and can be seen by anybody, whereas the symbols of the zodiac are only symbolical and they give the nature suitable for prediction. So we find the Aries or Mesha is signified by the ram, the Taurus or Vrishabha is by the bull. So by the bull means it is the pastures, green pastures. Aries means small hillocks and mounts. And Gemini, this is represented by a man and a woman. They signify mostly cities where there is a cosmopolitan life where men and women are drawn in large numbers. But such a thing you don't find in villages. So these are all purely symbolical. And again, another thing is, important fact that one can notice, when the tropical zodiac Mesha Rashi begins with Uttara Bhadrapada last quarter today, and Sidereal Zodiac Mesha Rashi always starts with Ashwini, still the Janma Nakshatra doesn't change for both the systems. Because the planets are actually measured, their longitudes are measured, and then the horoscope is cast. For instance, Jupiter is 40 degrees for Sidereal Zodiac casting. It is 40 plus 27, 24.1, I am 64.1. So from the tropical zodiac, vernal equinox point, 64.1 is the same as 40 degrees from Mesha Ashwini. Therefore, the Janma Nakshatra remains the same. Because tropical zodiac uses the same moon for deciphering the Dasha system, Dasha, and therefore, starting counting from Uttara Bhadrapada, you end up supposing Jupiter is in Aries, in Sidereal Zodiac. Starting from Uttara Bhadrapada, that is in the Pisces, you count and then you come back to Aries only. So the Chandra's longitude changes and therefore the Dashas change. Sidereal, it will be a different Dasha. For this tropical, it is a different Dasha. But in both the systems, Chandra is the criterion, the longitude of the moon is the criterion for deciphering the balance of Dasha at the time of birth and subsequent progression. So some interesting observations of practices in the world in tune with astrology. Ketu always signifies watches, times, wristwatches, wall clocks, and so on and so forth. And Rahu always signifies the aliens. That is, in India, apart from Hindus, the other religions are called aliens. And in the world, we are aliens. Therefore, we find that Ketu and Rahu are combined. This is the head and that is the tail. These two are combined as a single unit, Rahu and Ketu. One is the north lunar node and the other is south lunar node. These two things combined together, we find that in India, all the watch shops and repair shops, watch repair shops are held by only aliens. So Ketu is held by Rahu in India. The timepieces, watches, clocks and other things. You find Ghani and Sons, you find Ismail and Brothers, you find Jimsons. All these things, they own these watches and times. They go together. And another interesting observation is that Tuesdays, all the haircutting salons are closed. Universally. And in some countries abroad also. The reason is that Mars presides over sharp instruments and tools. And it is with this that the trade goes on. Therefore, they are afraid that should there be anything bad or affliction, our tempers begin to hot up, the tools may be coming to use. And so to avoid such a contingency, Mars, which signifies Tuesday, is the Lord of Tuesday, and also signifies the sharp tools and other things, are completely, the haircutting salons are declared a holiday on Tuesdays. Another observation in my own experience is that when we get around a dining table or a meeting table, we find that members sit down according to their lagnas. It is unawares of the lagna of each member. Either across the dining table or across the round table for a meeting, people sit, get accommodated in a particular order of their lagnas in the retrograde order. If at all there is any error in the seating of their positions in the initial stages of sitting, there may be some disturbance when the rearrangement takes place, when the whole thing is set in order. So it's another interesting observation that you find that members sitting around the dining table or around a round table for meeting sit according to their lagnas, unaware of the lagnas of each member. That's the end of it. So with this, we come to the end of the first part of the new series, Nuances in Astrology. More will come in subsequent parts. Hello, sir. With that, we have come to the end of the first part. I have given the most interesting things in that.
Yes,
that
very interesting,
commonness
sir.
of certain things.
Yes, sir. For the sake of the viewers, I'd just, like to thank you again and again for sharing such valuable information about astrology. I have a doubt. Whenever you say Aries itself, we don't have an exact star which is at like say Aries 0 degrees, right? We do not have an exact star which we'll call it as 0 degrees Aries. Do we have something like that, or is it just a space in the sky which has been divided into?
Because these stars are actually the constellations, I would say.
Okay.
In Aries, it is called Ashwini, with about 5 stars. We find these 5 stars are actually an area represents the area. They don't represent a point.
Oh, they don't represent a point. Okay.
Yes, they represent an area. Okay. And this area is distributed on either side of the ecliptic, the center line of the zodiac, within the zodiac.
Okay.
The zodiac is a belt of 16 degrees. And the center line of this is called the ecliptic, 8 degrees on either side. So this entire area is spread along both sides of the ecliptic. Okay. So these stars are projected onto the ecliptic, and that projection itself is the starting point of the Ashwini that starts the Sidereal Zodiac Aries. So we do not know exactly which star starts the zodiac. It is the area that comes in, and the projection that is coming onto the ecliptic alone is the starting point.
Oh, thank you, sir. So one more
That
doubt
cannot
is,
be known. Similarly, but in calculation, here also in tropical zodiac, the vernal equinox is not seen in the sky. It's only a mathematical intersection point that is calculated. You may observe that the ephemeris consists of the longitudes of planets calculated with reference to Greenwich 0 degrees.
okay, like Swiss
And
ephemeris.
then they are put in the ephemeris. And by subtracting the Ainamsha, we are arriving at the sidereal longitudes.
Correct.
So sidereal longitudes are not directly calculated. There is no ephemeris as such of direct calculation. It's only a derivation from the tropical longitudes.
Okay, that's why the ephemeris is made for 5:30 Indian Standard Time.
Yes.
That explains why it is made like that. Okay, because they don't even
All
want
known
to.
there means 5:30.
Yeah. 0 hours GMT.
Yes.
We had 5.5 hours for India. So one more doubt about the, that's very interesting when you said we take our seats in around a dining table in accordance to our lagna.
Yes.
I found that people generally have this habit of always taking the same place seats. So I think I have noticed it myself that wherever
Somehow
given
they
a
get
chance,
used to that place.
yeah, we get so used to that. But my point is, where is exactly Aries lagna, if you say in terms of the table?
No, wherever it is, you take
Is it a comparison
beginning
like
signs around all the people sit around. There's a dining table or a round table for a meeting.
okay?
You start from the lagna of a person whose lagna starts much earlier in the zodiac. Say if one has got Taurus as the lagna, we start from Taurus and find that all the other lagnas are in the retrograde form.
Okay. It's a comparison between each other's lagna. Okay. It's like an angular distance between those people. Okay.
Supposing in the meeting, people come at their own time. And there will be a displacement also. So a respectable man, elder man comes immediately, somebody vacates the seat and then offers it to him and he goes and points at another place. Okay. This is because he has originally he sat in the wrong place or not fitting within the zodiac sequence.
Okay, this idea is also used in, I think, in the Prashna system those days when people didn't know their lagnas. And when they went to the astrologer, they used to sit in a place and then the astrologer looks at where has he taken the seat and where has he seated.
Yes.
And then they try to link it up with the ascendant. Okay.
Even in this Prashna Jatakam also, they count this number of leaves, betel, nuts and all that and divide by 12. Okay. Some people even go by what is called as nimittam.
Okay. Just simply.
Nimittam means somebody goes to inquire about the daughter's marriage or so, and he hears some band being played outside. He says that it is an auspicious one. So you have come at the right time. He takes nimittam. But this nimittam and this prashna and the jatakam stands only for 2 hours because the lagna duration is only 2 hours.
Okay. Very nice, sir. Interesting views. So I'm sure our viewers will be waiting for the next topic. So there was a long gap between series 2 and series 3. And as usual, I'm the reason for that. I did not find the time. I'm extremely sorry for that.
That's creating more anxiety in the.
Okay. So we'll now try to make it we'll regularize this, and we hope to see you soon, sir. Once again with us. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.